Well, I wanted to ask you about when you first came to the Lardo Valley and what you did when you first came here.
That's why I got that thing up there.
Your engineer certificate.
Yeah.
Were you in
that is May the 3rd, 1946. Art Waite and myself, we come in on the same boat.
Had you been in the war?
No. I don't know whether I was lucky or unlucky. I never did. I got in the army, but I never got no place.
Huh.
Not that I'm very fussy about it. I wasn't too fussy anyway, but I was in both of them. I was the last one. I was up in the Queen Charlotte Islands in the logging camp.
What was that called? Arrow
timber.
Arrow timber, right?
Yeah. So I put in 3 years up there.
Logging spruce?
Yep. I never did go out in the woods.
Did you come to work at the Duncan Lake Lumber Company?
Yeah. I come up here as engineer.
Was it a going concern when you arrived, or were they just starting?
No, just starting it up. The old sawmill was there, but it was all in pieces and scattered around the yard. And we put that together and got it going.
Where did that sawmill come from?
That I couldn't tell you. I can't even tell you the man that had it. He run it for several years, and I don't know what happened to him. Billy Clark, he was kind of looking after the Kootenai cedar. They owned all this 1,000,000 acres of timber here, that Kootenai cedar, and brother and sister millionaires in New York City.
Huh.
I forgot their names too. I know them both.
Smith Kenna, was it?
Yeah.
What was their name? Kenna or?
Kenna, yeah.
Kenna. Did they ever come here?
Yeah.
They did.
Oh yes, nothing missed that old gal. Her brother wasn't so bad, but boy was that old gal. She didn't let nothing go by.
You mean business-wise?
In that business way.
Huh.
But they were old couple. I don't know, they must have been 75 or 80 or something. I know there's real old people. And then when they see, their father got this land somewhere or another, I don't know how, and he made a deal with the government that he didn't have to pay taxes on it.
Huh.
And there was about 1,000,000 acres.
It was the old railway grant from the Caslow and Slocan Railway.
Was that what that was?
Yeah, he bought it from the Great Northern Railway.
Yeah, possibly. I wouldn't know.
Yeah.
But anyway, he didn't have to pay taxes. He had that deal made with the government. Well, after the old fellow was dead and gone, well, this brother and sister, they still had it. And then when the government stepped in, I think the Bennett government, not this Bill Bennett, but his father, took over, and then they made them pay taxes. That's when they sold to, oh gosh, this fellow's name in Spokane or Seattle or someplace. And he took it over and named it Kootenai Forest. Before that is, what the heck was the name of that company? Bill Shukin was the head of it. Bunch of shareholders.
Of Kootenai Cedar?
No.
No.
No, that's this sawmill deal in Nelson, this one that's here now.
Right. So there was Kootenai Forest Products, but before that was another company?
You mean the mill?
No, I mean the Kennas owned the land.
They owned the land and the timber, yes. They never did own a mill.
And they sold it to?
They sold it to this fellow from Seattle or Spokane or I don't remember where. He was I always called him Poop Hole. His name was Luthole is what his name was.
Luthole?
Luthole.
Huh.
And he ran it for several years, and then he sold it to Eddie Match. And they had it for several years, and then Barrett took it.
Mm.
And now it's still the government of BC.
Right. Mm. So when you first came, you came to work at the Duncan Lake Lumber Company.
That's right.
How did you hear about the job?
Oh, I located a guy in Vancouver. I was looking for a job. I just come out of the Queen Charlotte Islands, and I was looking for something to... I wanted to get out of Vancouver. I hate Vancouver. I hate cities. That's why I come up here.
So they hired you from down there?
Yeah.
And they hired Art too?
Yeah.
Did you know him up in the Queen Charlotte? Or?
No. There was nobody come up here that I knew up there. But this darn manager, he was crooked. He'd done that all his life, you know. He'd start up something and get a lot of money out of it, and he didn't own nothing. But he beat everybody out of their money, and then he was gone. Eventually he died in prison, and that I know.
The manager of the Duncan Lake Lumber Company. What was his name?
You know, this darn head of mine don't work too good.
Was he an Irishman?
He could have been.
Huh.
I may think of his name sometime when I go along, but right now I can't.
But he had shareholders, eh? That put up all the money?
Yeah, and I was one of them.
Is that right?
Oh, yeah.
You bought shares?
Bought shares. Did
everybody who worked there buy shares?
No, they had some hired, you know.
Mm-hmm. Is that mostly how he got the money, though, was from people that were working there?
Well, after the mill burned down, he went as far as he could, and then he got somebody to burn the mill down.
Hmm.
Well, he took off the next day. He didn't stick around at all. He just beat it. They wouldn't see no more of him. But Bill Ballantyne, an old couple, then we were good friends. But anyway, he kind of took over the books and what is left of it, and I got in on the books too. Art Waite eventually got them. Mm-hmm. But he bought some live rollers at a sawmill just outside of Harrop. He paid $300 for them, and on the books there was $1,300.
Huh.
So that's just an example of what he did. No, the outfit was doing good if it had an honest manager. It hadn't had a crook.
What were you cutting mostly?
Cedar.
Cedar?
Yeah.
All cedar?
Mainly. You get a little white pine, and you know there wasn't too much of it, but get anything that was handy.
Where did the lumber go?
Oh gosh, I don't know. Thurston Lumber Company in Vancouver handled it. They're lumber dealers.
Mm-hmm. Thurston
Lumber Company.
Huh.
They used to cut about 3-4 carload of cottonwood in the spring, and they'd air dry it all summer and then load it in the fall. And it went to Ontario. It went to a box factory of some kind.
Huh.
Cottonwood is not very good it's all right for boxes. It's tough and it's light, but you can't use it for only certain things because they absorb the stink or whatever you want to call it from the cottonwood.
Uh-huh.
But there were some things that they used it for, and it's good boxes because it's tough and it's light. But that is the trouble with cottonwood. That smell that taints an awful lot of the stuff that's put in it.
So you went to live at Howser. Did you have a house, or was there a bunkhouse?
Well, they rented a bunkhouse, and it was about 3/4 of a mile from the mill. But I had to go down there every morning early and then come back to breakfast. And there was a family of Murphy, Mr. and Mrs. Murphy. They built up a house down there. And I built myself a room upstairs in the warehouse where I could sleep. Mm-hmm. And I boarded with the Murphys. And I stayed there till they got a camp built down at the mill. Well, you go down there about 1/2 mile every morning and fire it up, and then walk back to breakfast, and then walk down to go to work. It made a kind of a long day.
What was the boiler fired with?
Green slabs. They didn't burn very good either.
So you ran the mill off the slab.
Yeah.
Did you have to have extra fuel too, or could it keep going?
No, you never got none. Yeah, just shut down every once in a while and get up more steam when you lose it.
Huh.
Well, the darn green wet slabs, even if they was dry, well, they still was wet. And locomotive type boilers, you know, the firebox on them they're not made for slab wood. They're too small.
It was a locomotive boiler?
Well, a locomotive type, yes.
Where did it come from, the boiler?
Well, two of them. Where's Meadowcreek? Up here. If you go back that back road, up one that comes out at Gold Hill, you've been through that road. Do you know where that fellow lives up there in the hollow?
Oh,
the road goes around.
With the mules.
Hmm?
The guy with the mules? Gary Cockrell?
I don't know what his name is. Somebody lived there, I know. Well, just on the road at that time went down right through his place, through the valley and up that hill. Mm-hmm. Well, there was a compressor up there, and there's blue marble there, and they've been up there drilling a sample, but it's checked so bad that it was no good. Mm-hmm. That's where one of them, they were traction engines.
From farm tractors?
Yeah, well, farm or thrasher outfits or whatever. But anyway, that one was up there, and we went up one Sunday, old Valentine and I, and we put the fittings back on, and they hauled a truckload of water up there, and we got some water in the boiler and built a fire, and I drove it down. We got down as far as the creek that night, and that's where the other one was set, just on the other side of the Meadow Creek Bridge. Hmm. We left it there for that. Went back home. Well, we had to get in the sawmill on Monday morning, so it was there. And the next Sunday we went up and fixed the second one up and got it going. And we finally brought it down, the two of them down to, well, the Marble Works up here. Mm-hmm. And parked them there. Old man Dykes owned them things at the time.
Who was he?
Well, he owned the Marble Works.
Dykes?
Well, it's the Canadian Marble and Granite in Edmonton.
Right.
The old man owned that whole outfit there. Mm. And Kootenai Forest bought him out. That's the way they got a hold of it. And them two in him, there was another traction engine, there was three of them in the mill. But boy, oh boy, I never worked so hard in my life.
To put those together?
No, trying to keep up steam. Try to keep up steam. Eventually, they bought a diesel, GM diesel, and put it on the head rig. Mm-hmm. Well, then they done away with one of them, just had two steam engines. Well, that is nothing to it. We was doing good work then. That's when the mill burnt down. Just getting where we could do something.
Did you have a planer and all
Yeah,
that?
I had a planer, sure. I wouldn't say it's a good one, but it's a planer.
Was it run on electricity, or was it?
No, it was run with a flathead Chrysler motor. When them, I don't know if you remember them things or not. They're pretty old motors. But it'd run the planer good. Hmm. Oh, there was no trouble getting rid of the lumber. Gosh, you could sell anything you could put on the car.
And how many thousand board feet would the mill cut it in a good day?
Well, we was cutting a little over 20,000 after we got the diesel on the head saw. We got a hold of another sawyer. Well, he'd been a dogger there for about a year, and he kind of took over sawing, and he was a good sawyer too. Done away with them hay wires. Hmm. Gosh, there was timber in this country then right down to the river.
And you were logging mostly up the Duncan then? Up.
Well, not too much up there. You had no way of getting it down. You had a little haywire boat, 2-cylinder engine in it. They got some from up there, yes.
So where did most of the logs come from?
Well, the log 2 winters here at 9 Mile. Just above the camp there. Mm-hmm. across the river. There's an old building in there. That's where the camp was.
Huh.
And they got it quite a bit from up the line, right alongside the road.
So they were trucking logs in?
Yeah, that 15-mile camp, they logged there about 2 years.
Mm-hmm.
I can't even find the place now. I can find it if I go up and stop. Look, but it's growed up so bad that I don't recognize it by going along the road.
Mm. So they had logging trucks then? Those must have been the first trucks in the valley.
Yeah. Well, the company brought a logging truck. I used to about a 4-ton truck. It was a big one at them days. But and then Ian Layton, Ernie Alexander's brother-in-law, he got a... Forgot what that was. It was a good truck. But he didn't use trailers. They just loaded them on the truck.
Mm-hmm.
But he hauled some good loads on there too.
Huh.
Then he had another fellow with a 4-ton truck or 3-ton truck from Vancouver hauling the lumber from Howser to Lardo so he could load it in the CPR boxcars.
Mm-hmm.
So he was here about 3 years before it burned down.
What year did it burn down?
49, June. Made a good fire too.
Who did he get to start the fire?
The edgerman.
And he split too, eh?
And what I understand, it wasn't the first one he'd burnt down either.
Hmm.
No, he belonged in Castle, but boy, did they ever get him out here in a hurry that next morning.
The edgerman.
Yeah. The RCMP knew that it had been set on fire too, but, well, I don't know. I guess I talked to him. But I guess that I was so badly confused that I didn't tell him too much. But I know afterwards, I know well that he knew that thing was set on fire.
Mm.
Because I was with him when the edgerman was telling him how it started and all this. Well, it didn't start in where the edgerman said it all. It started underneath the mill. There was lots of diesel through on it to start with too.
Hmm. That left you all high and dry.
Left us all high and dry.
How many families were in Howser then?
Oh, I don't know. I wouldn't want to say, but I would say about 10. Well, most of them, they packed up and got out as soon as they could. Me, like a darn fool, I stayed here and I'm still here. When I went from there, we went out to turn there's lumber there, and we went out to put it in the lawyer's hands so we could get some pay. We were quite a ways behind in our wages too. Mm-hmm. So we went in and Nelson turned it over to the lawyer, and we stayed overnight in a hotel in Castle, and I got talking to the hotel man. In fact, I knew him. He said, "What are you going to do?" Well, I said, "I don't know. I'm going to look for a job, but I'd kind of hate to leave here." He said, "You know, maybe I can help you." And he phoned Crystal Laundry and Trail. And the guy said, after he finished, he said, "Sure. As soon as you get through in Nelson tomorrow, you go to Trail. You got a job there." Hmm. Well, it was only a spare job, a relief while the engineer was away for a month. And the engineer was going to get a gas station or something in Alberta, and they didn't find one, so he come back. If he hadn't have been, I'd been stuck there. Hmm. It wasn't a bad job, really. It was long hours, all right. I don't remember what I got paid now. Did it run out of dope yet?
No, not yet.
I done 2 of them tapes last winter, you know.
With who? Who came to record them?
I done them.
Oh, you did them on cassette yourself?
Yeah.
Huh.
I never got the book yet, but it'll come along some of these times.
A book? Did you send the tapes to someone?
Yeah. I got another book. There's a tape in that book there that I did.
Oh.
And I done one after 1940 when I was in Vancouver and when I was up in the Queen Charlottes, and I guess some after I come up here. I don't remember.
So in 1940, you were just before the war. You were living in Alberta.
I come out here in 41 to Vancouver.
Had you been in the First War too?
Yeah.
Did you go overseas?
No, I didn't go overseas. My brother did. He got as far as England, and he put in 2.5 years in England.
Were you in the American or the Canadian?
Canadian.
Army? In the Canadian Army.
Yeah.
You were born in the States though, weren't you?
Yeah.
When did you move to Canada?
1903.
With your parents?
Mm-hmm. I was 11 years old then.
So you were born in 1892?
That's right. When we went through Edmonton, it was 2 years before Edmonton had a railroad. Strathcona had a railroad. That's where we landed up.
Mm-hmm.
But Edmonton didn't have a railroad till 1905.
So you hadn't worked in the woods industry until the Second World War. Before that you'd been farming?
Well, I guess I done a little bit of everything. I put in a lot of time in garages.
Huh.
But I grew up on a farm, put it that way. I homesteaded in 1910 when I got 18 years old.
How big a place did you have then? A quarter section or?
Yeah, 160 acres.
That's not so big by today's standards, but I guess back then it was plenty big.
Well, I sold that homestead in 1918. I think I got $1,600 for it, and I thought I had a lot of money.
Do you like the mountains out here?
Well, yeah, you don't get them horrible windstorms like you get in the prairie. I hate them. My mother was the same way. Dad, he never said too much, but I don't think he was too interested in them either.
Where were your parents from?
Well, my mother's parents, they come from Sweden. And I don't know where. Dad, my great-grandfather Decker spoke Dutch. And my grandmother Decker, she was an English woman. So what am I?
It's like the rest of us.
Just me. No, my grandparents, Olson, they was 7 weeks on the Atlantic coming across. I've heard my grandmother Olson tell about that lots of times.
What was your first impression of this area when you got off the steamer at Lardo to come up here?
Well, you know, I didn't think too much about it because I'd been out in the sticks here in the mountains, so I kind of know what to expect. I was in several camps up in the Queen Charlottes. Because eventually I wound up there. I was an engineer on a tug for 2 years. So I got to see a lot of camps.
Who were you working for?
Arrow Timber.
They had their own tugs?
Yeah. They had their own 2 boats. They took 2 of the Union steamship boats over. I don't know whether they owned them or whether they rented them, but they had them and they controlled them.
What were the names of the boats?
The Comotion and the Cassiar. They originally had been CNR boats that went to Prince Rupert, Alaska. Prince Rupert, yes. And CN got 2 new boats and they sold these to the Union steamship.
So they were good-sized boats.
Oh yeah, sure. It wasn't big by any means, but they were good-sized boats. The Cassiar, I guess had about 12, 14 staterooms. It was more of a combination of freight and some passengers, put it that way, but they could haul a lot of freight.
It was the old Prince Robert, I think it was called, or Prince... Yeah.
You mean the Cassiar?
Before it was the Cassiar.
No, just a minute. No, it wasn't. I know what you're talking about, yeah, but it wasn't that one. I forgot the name of both of them. But we used to put in 5 days and nights from Vancouver up there. So they wasn't very fast. Of course, once you got to the Queen Charlotte Islands, they stopped at all the camps.
Who was living in Howser when you first came? Was Bertie Board still there?
Board?
Board?
Board.
Slim Hatfield?
Billy Clark, Harry Tomlinson, Miss Bates. She was an ex-retired school teacher, this Miss Bates. And Stevenson, he's an old Indian, lived there.
Earl Stevens?
Earl Stevens. And there was somebody else there too. There was, because them guys all died off. There was 2 or 3 other guys.
What were they like, all those old guys?
Oh, they were fine. But they used to have some pretty rough parties sometimes.
Just amongst themselves? Or
No, that's right.
What did they think of all these new people coming in?
They didn't like it. They didn't like it a bit. They didn't think they had any business coming in here, but they got to know them, you know, and we got along fine.
They like their quiet life?
Well, I don't know how much you've been around the country, but as a rule, when they get into a little community, they don't like to see new people coming in. That's kind of a general practice, isn't it?
Was the town site of Howser still intact? Was Simpson's store still there?
Yeah, there was a little store. They just down right down the lake edge then. This old Harry Tomlinson, he was assistant forest ranger, and he run the whole valley. He had no trouble. And old man Greenlaw, that's Johnny and Archie's father.
He was in Lardo, wasn't he? Didn't he have a hotel? Or?
Well, at one time, yes, but he was living in, had been in Howser for quite a few years. I think the hotel in Lardo burnt. I think Archie and the old man went in there about 1932 into Lardo from Saskatchewan.
Right.
But Lardo, when I come there was Mr. and Mrs. Archie Greenlaw and Mr. and Mrs. Senior Tillon and Mr. and Mrs. Junior Tillon. That's all that was there. And a couple of kids. And the mail come in every 2 weeks whether you needed it or not.
How about Howser? How often did you get your mail there?
Well, the same. It come up every 2 weeks. Well, then when we moved into Howser and took that mill over, they got it organized and it come every Saturday. See, the old Moyer used to bring a mail in at that time.
Right.
They had the contract.
And then someone must have had to drive it up.
Well, they had a mail carrier. I don't remember. There's several of them, but They always had somebody to pick it up. The company picked it up after we got there. I don't think they had a contract, but they did. I don't know who picked it up. Well, there used to be a post office, you know, at Poplar Creek, and one at Gerard, one at Howser. But somebody had a contract. I think old Joe Locust. You ever hear of him?
Mm-hmm.
I think he had that mail contract when we come in here. Old guy, he died now, not a year or two ago.
Yeah.
They lived up there. Well, you probably know where they lived.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
This Earl Stevenson, he had a hotel at Poplar Creek. And by golly, they used it for a logging camp quite a few years after I come here.
Huh.
And finally, I guess it got so much snow on it, it kind of caved in.
Well, there was no power at Howser when you were.
No, this went in '63, I think it was, that put the power in here. That was another thing I did at camp there after I first come. I looked after the power plant.
Did they make electricity for just the mill or for the town too?
Just for the camp. And their fridges, of course. I did that up in the Queen Charlotte Islands for a year or two. I worked with an electrician and looked after the light plant, and I guess anything else around there was handy. I was pretty busy, but anyway, I was all right. I enjoyed that too. Some of the boys, they get awful fed up, and oh boy, they was going out. I don't know what all didn't happen. I stayed there till the last, well, till they closed up. And the old captain and I, we brought the boat down, and we towed another boat down that had a broken crankshaft in it to Vancouver.
Who was the captain?
John Hartling.
Huh.
We always called him Shorty.
No, I don't know him.
No, you wouldn't know them. He'd been captain on the coast for years. He was an old man.
Did you ever go on a ship with Buster Brown?
No.
He was on the Prince Rupert run to the Queen Charlotte's on those old CN boats for a little while.
Yeah, probably. I don't remember them captains on them boats that went up there. They was Union steamship captains, all right.
Bob Naughty?
I got to know them, but I just forgot them. Gosh, that's a long time ago, too. I was in and out of Prince Rupert. I don't like Prince Rupert. I never did like it.
Rains too much.
Well, I guess maybe what I didn't like there, the American Army was in there, and I didn't like them, the way they threw their weight around.
They had submarine nets out for across the harbor?
Yeah, oh yeah. I knew a fellow that was in the Navy, engineer in the Navy, and he towed the barge out with them nets. And they dumped them overboard out there in the ocean someplace.
Huh.
And they was tied up, he said, for 2 days behind an island waiting for the water to tame down, and it did some. And he said he got sick of staying out there. He says, come on, let's go and dump them over and get out of here. So that's what they did. He was the engineer, not the captain. He was telling me one time out on the west coast, they went out there was a, what do they call these bombs that comes up on the beach, floats in. Mines. Anyway, there's one out on the west coast of Vancouver Island. They sent this demolition crew out there to make it harmless. But it's so darn sloppy and rough, they couldn't get to it, and they was anchored out there, and he said that this young guy on the boat, and he said he didn't even have his Mae West on. The boat was rocking and jumping around, and he told him, he said, you better get that on. And about that time he went overboard. He said, I just jumped into the Mae West and jumped overboard, and they got him out. And before he got out of the water, the bomb exploded for some reason or other. And when he was up here, he was here too at Howser with me. And they couldn't find out what was wrong with him. He wasn't sick or nothing, but he just couldn't do nothing. But somebody told me afterward, they knew him, that when that bomb exploded, apparently it busted a million or something like that, little blood vessels in his body, and that is what was bugging him. He eventually died.
Huh.
And it was all caused from that mine that exploded. And he was in the water.
To get the other guy out.
He got the shock or whatever.
Hmm.
And all for this young whippersnapper didn't have a Mae West on. That's caused it in the first place.
Were there other people logging up here besides you folks at the Duncan Lake Lumber Company?
Yeah. These two Tillon families I was talking about, they were logging for, what is his name? He had the sawmill at that time, the one that couldn't forest got now. Patterson.
Huh.
Patterson owned that mill then. And after about 6 or 8 months or something like that, this Bill Shukin, he organized another company, and they bought Patterson out. And Eddie Match, you know, they had a match block factory in Nelson at that time.
Mm-hmm.
And what happened to that, I don't know. Whether Eddie Match quit making that type of matches or what, I don't know. Anyway, but we had the old Eddie Matchbox son up here. He was about 18, I guess, 17, 18. The fire watchman in the summer.
Huh.
But one weekend they lost him. And he was looked for him for 2 or 3 days, and they finally found him up at Bowles playing with the girls. I forgot his name too. He's your haywire boy. Nothing bad about him. He just raised in Nelson, I suppose, and didn't realize anything.
Kootenai Cedar wasn't taking trees out, were they? Poles?
No. No, they never done nothing. Always let somebody else do it.
Like who?
Well, like us, for instance.
Were you
We took out poles too.
off of their timberland?
Yeah. One spring they brought 1,200 poles out of the dumping. They cut up there.
So you'd pay Kootenai Cedar for them?
Gosh, I don't know idea what the stumpage was on that stuff. It wasn't very much. Stumpage wasn't very much any place at that time.
Maitland Harrison, he wasn't still logging then, was he?
Harrison?
Yeah.
No, he was just trapping.
Was Tim Ainsworth around?
Yeah. Him and his dog.
He raised spaniels, was it?
Mm-hmm. Harrison, I think they live in Nelson now, don't they? He had a trap line here at Howser. Ernie was road foreman, I was with him, sure. But we were having log jam trouble in the river. Jesus, them time we used to have lots of trouble in log jams. But we was a blasting them log jams out, and the old Harrison, he's an old Englishman. He said, "You're scaring my beaver." He was pretty mad about it. I guess they sold that place there Harrison used to have. Somebody else has got it now.
Sold it to Jimmy Sosik.
Yeah, well, Jimmy sold it to somebody else from Alberta, and he built another house there. I was up there one time, and I seen the house. Well, Ernie Severt told me the same thing. Jim Sosik, I guess, took the timber off and probably couldn't finance it or something. I don't know what happened. Or he sold it, didn't we? I don't know whether that Stan Kilsby's place was ever sold or not. That's where that old house is. Just this side of Harrison's place.
I don't know.
I've been up to Ernest Edwards several times this spring and winter, but I never went any further. Was you around here every time the truck went through that bridge?
No.
The old bridge?
No.
He was a lucky boy.
Who drove it through the bridge?
Bill. I don't know, he's a Doukhobor. I know him well, he worked for the company a lot. He lives at 6 Mile, that's where he lives, I know where he lives. For some reason, you see there was no span and nothing in the middle of that, there's one full span. And Bill figures he never even got wet. And there's high water too. I guess what happened, it probably just was going, and when he got on, he said he figured that the front wheels probably were up on this side. But he went down and the timber or something come down and got him, his arm on the steering wheel. That's the only thing that hurt him. He got out there, never got his clothes wet.
Huh.
He was lucky. He ever got in that river because it was high. This bridge out here was across there at one time, and it washed out, and the CPR put in that one with no span and brought that down here and put it over this creek.
Were people logging with horses when you first came here?
Oh yeah.
How many teams of horses were there for the company?
Well, they didn't have very many. They had about 2 teams, I guess. They had a little International TD9 cat. They brought that. And then they heard George Southwick, he had a small cat. But it was new, it was in good shape. He done most of the logging.
He did most of the logging for Duncan Lake Lumber Company?
Yeah, that's right. Yeah, he was a good going concern, George was. All full of business and never quit. I don't know where he is now. He wasn't Penticton the last I knew of him. I think he still is, probably got a wholesale truck office or something like that. I forgot what it was. Old Bob Tar, you know, he used to live at Argenta too. Well, John Stevenson got his place.
Did he work for the Duncan Lake?
No, they had a small little tie mill of their own.
Was there much of that around the valley? Little mills? Small mills?
No. There was one at Howser, or not Howser, but Gerard. And they had one at Argenta, and then this one here at Howser.
What was it, Gerard?
Well, the Doukhobor mill.
Sukharov?
I think it was. The big mill had gone. That was gone before I come here. The building was still there, but there was no roof or nothing on it. Just a skeleton.
Was any of the machinery there?
No.
Nothing?
Nothing. It was all cleaned right out. Well, they cleaned it out when they took the steel out, the railroad. It went out on the railroad. I don't know where it went. Someplace, probably Kelowna.
That's when they took all the machinery out of the mill then?
Yeah.
It must have been a good-sized mill.
Well, sure. I think it said 120,000 or something like that. There was 550 horse boilers in there. I never seen them. They was gone, but I seen the brickwork. And I talked to a guy that knew about it, so he knew what he was talking about.
Who was that?
I don't know. I forgot his name.
Do you ever met anybody who worked there, who's still around?
No, not really. I think that mill was up at Trout Lake at one time. Why they moved it, I think they were just spending some rich Englishman's money playing around. They never did cut anything, according to Alexander. He was a young guy at that time, and he knows. He said they never cut anything. Well, sure, they cut some logs all right, but they put in, I guess most of the time they was drunk.
Logging changed a lot when the big company came in here.
Yeah. Well, when Kootenai Forest first started, they was using these old haywire jammers to load with. They're slow, but they loaded. And most of the trucks were just hauling logs on their back. They didn't have no trailers. Them Tillans, they logged in there for several years too. Well, the old folks, they were kind of a caretaker in this station in Largo. There was a telephone from the station to Caslow. You could phone the telegram down there and they'd send out as a telegram from Caslow. And they lived there and looked after the thing, and then they brought a station agent in. And he got about 5,000 chickens there. He's going the chicken business. There was chickens in the station, and there was chickens upstairs, and there was chickens in the backyard, and there was chickens all over the place there. But he didn't last too long either. He got out. And then they brought a Norman Pommelson in as an agent. He's still over in Spokane City. I was talking to Al about him the other day. Al knows him. He's got a store over there, and he quit the CPR and got this store, and I don't know, he's a checker or something on the scales for the sawmill. I don't know what he did tell me. He was talking about taking me down there someday and so I could see him, but we never got around to it yet. Might someday, I hope.
What did you like about Howser? What were the nice parts about living there?
Well, I don't think there was anything real bad about it. I didn't care too much about Lardo. There's too much wind down there. See, I lived down there from 49 till 1960 when I come up here. But I had to go down there because that's where the Department of Highways had their garage and their equipment. I had to move down there. But I had a 12 by 16 trailer. And it was built in sections. 4 walls, 2 pieces on the roof, and the floor. You had to go out here with a boat. There was no road at that time, so the guy built it so that he could take it apart in sections and move it out.
Huh.
Well, then he decided, well, I wanted to buy it one day, so I bought it, and he sold it to me. And I lived in that in Howser until I had to move to Lardo, and then Ken Greenlaw, he had a 3-ton Ford truck. So we backed up to it one morning and loaded it on his truck and took it to Lardo, and I was moved down there, and we had our lunch down there at 1 o'clock in Lardo after we loaded it and went down there. We had to unload it yet, but that didn't take too long. So I lived in that from 49 to 1960.
And that's when you went to Marblehead?
Yeah. But I didn't care. I liked Lardo, but I didn't care about the wind. Boy, that north wind in there, that's real cold too. Of course, I don't think that cabin was very warm either. It was only half-inch dry trees that it was cut out of. And there was no insulation, I know. And then I decided to sell it because you couldn't wire it, you couldn't do much with it because it wasn't solid enough to do anything. So I decided that I better sell that and pick up a small trailer. That's the one that's up at the camp.
Mm-hmm.
Well, that was all right at the time. I was made a home for me, but now it got so it wasn't too good. Pretty narrow and not much room. And always got to get somebody around to help me a little bit.
Did Kennas own it when you first went to work for KFP? Did the Kennas, was it still Kootenai?
You mean they owned the timber? The land? No. Just
So where did they come to when you met them?
at Howser. Yeah, when it was Howser. I seen them. They used to come up every year or sometimes twice a year.
Just to look over their trees?
That's right. They'd look over their property.
Who would they stay with?
Well, they stayed with Billy Clark. He had cabins there. Billy Clark was looking after them. He was representing them. And he died, what, 4, 5, 6 years ago?
Yeah.
He was quite a guy, old Billy. Old Doc Bessaker, that is in the spring of 1942. 46. He had some land on that island there above Howser.
Mm-hmm.
And he got Bill Lane. He had a steel wheel tractor, 3-bottom plow, and a disc, or I don't remember what it's all about. But he bored 2 forestry river boats. And they put them alongside and put some timbers across, and they drove the plow and the tractor on them river boats, took them up to the island that way on the 2 of them. Good old Doc Bessaker, he was full of beans then. He was all right.
Did he have big plans to farm?
Oh yeah, I'll tell you big stories same as you can now. he bought 3-4 sacks of seed potatoes, and there's a guy lived over across there on the flats. He had a good talker, all right. And he was going to plant Bessaker's potatoes, and they was going to divide them 50-50 when it got fall. And when it got fall, I forgot this guy's name, don't make any difference anyway, but he told Bessaker, he said, your share of the potatoes is over there in that cabin. How much is it? Well, he said, there's a sack and a half. Well, he said, I had 3 sacks of seed potatoes. Well, the guy said, I know. But he said, I didn't have any money and I didn't have any potatoes, so we eat the seed potatoes. That's one of Bessaker's stories.
Well, there was a fellow named Potato Charlie.
Yeah, well, that's right over there by the dam. At the other end of the dam.
Where this guy was?
Hmm?
On our genocide?
Yeah. Yeah, he had a nice little garden spot in there. There was gravel in there too. We hauled quite a bit of gravel out for that road at one time.
Yeah.
See, we used to have to go to Howser and cross that bridge up there and then down the other side to get to Argenta.
Right. So you knew Potato Charlie?
No, he was gone before I come here, but I know all about him.
Do you know what his last name was?
No, I don't. Do you?
No.
I don't think I ever heard his last name. Oh, Ernie must have told me that too, but I don't remember.
What kind of stories did people tell about him?
Well, he had a little mine up there someplace in the hillside, and I guess he got a little gold out of it. He made a living for himself. I don't know what happened to him. Ernie's told me a lot about this early days of the country because he grew up here.
Right.
He lost 2 fingers yesterday.
Oh no.
Yeah.
Was he down in the hospital now?
No, he was down there, but he come back out. I was talking to Nell this morning. Apparently they had the lawnmower up at the hall cleaning that. Well, there's been quite a change too, but in 46, when we come here, there was no road. All there was 2 cow paths along, side of each other on the road. They had no equipment whatever for the road. They didn't do any road work. They did have a little pull grader that they had pulled behind the truck, but that is about like getting the tomcat by the tail and dragging him backwards. And the darn ties, they would just shoved off the road. You had to watch all the time because you're always stumbling over them ties. And then when they tried to plow snow, they were froze in, and boy, you had lots of trouble. Then eventually they got some cats in the country, and they finally pushed the ties back and got them out of the road. I guess they rotted too, probably. We had an old Frenchman here. He was a real good artist, right from Paris. I never seen his pictures, but he lived at 29 Mile. He had a cabin there, and the cabin burnt, and all his pictures burnt too, and he never painted anymore. He eventually went back to Paris.
What was his name?
Dumantel. He used to work a little on the road, you know, and give him the odd day or two's work to kind of help out on his groceries. Your welfare wasn't very much some days. I liked the old fellow. He was a nice old guy. Well, he just got back in the sticks, I guess, and like some of the rest of us, he liked it and stayed here. How are we doing?
Oh, yeah, about 5 more minutes.
Well,
When did
how
Canada...
about the slides they used to have down here?
On the lot between here and Lardo?
Yeah,
Were you working on the highways department?
I sure was. I was under them dang slides for about 8 years, and I didn't like it very good either. They think they get slides all the time. Oh, I gotta get this. Oh, they used to get in 48. That road was closed 2 weeks straight, and they had some good cats on it too. And there was about 6, 7 of them. But it seemed like after I got off the job, I guess the hillsides grew up, or they don't slide. They slide, but not like they used to.
I guess it's growing back slowly.
Oh yes, it's coming. And I guess the CPR, they had an awful time trying to keep it open. Well, they just got out and quit. That's all. Left it till spring.
What would people up here do when it closed down for 2 weeks at a time?
Pack it in.
They'd walk over the top of the slides?
Yeah. You had to. That 48, when it was so bad, I was at Howser then. But this road is plugged up here, and they got the back road open to Argenta.
Uh-huh.
There was no slides over there, just snow. But at least a cat could plow the road open. Anyway, they got that road open, and they took the mail and the groceries and what have you to Argenta, and then went up to Howser on the back road. So that's the way we done away with that.
Well, that back road on the Argenta side didn't get much use, though, after they built the bridge here.
No. Well, as soon as they built this bridge down here, that bridge was built in '55. And they built that and opened it, and then it went out in a week. There was something about that bridge I don't understand. The engineer, apparently the government wouldn't, I don't know what I'm talking about now, I'm just telling you. Apparently the engineer, I don't know how he got this money, but anyway, he built the bridge, and he brought that one on that little small span on this side, like. He got that was over that quick down there where the drive-in is. That's where that was.
Way down where the drive-in is?
Yeah. And then they
Nelson?
put that new bridge in, and they took that old bridge out. They brought it up here and put it on this down here. That's that span. The rest of it was all piling. And when that high water come, well, you know what happens to piling and driftwood. And they had men a blasting there night and day. And eventually, there was 100 feet there, and there was only 11 piling under it. I wasn't here. I was up the road, but the Nelson Caslow foreman was up. he was over me anyway. But they had 2 cats on the Argenta side, and they sawed the decking and the stringers and everything off on that 100 feet. And they got lines, cables on it, and tied onto these cats, and they blasted them other piling out and let it into the river, and they 2 cats, they hauled it up on the bank on that Argenta side.
Huh.
And they tore it down. They saved all the decking and the ties. And then they went out to Vancouver Island someplace and got that other span and put it in there.
Huh.
So they didn't get that in till in the fall. They started the bridge, I guess, in January, end of January, beginning of February. And they got it finished up there just in high water, and it's been open a week when they had to take that piece out. But there was something wrong where the engineer couldn't get permission or couldn't get money, but anyway, he took that way of getting the bridge in. And once he got it in there, well, then the government, they had to look after it. I'm not accusing him of anything. He went back to, I don't know where, Switzerland, I guess.
Huh.
When his wife died, and he might have been pensioned off, I don't know. But I know he left, went back to the old country. I forgot where he came from. He was a good guy, you know. But anyway, it's kind of nice of him to go to the trouble to get the bridge in. Well, gee whiz, that people from Argenta had to go to Howser and then back around there